The rogue crept through the dungeon. He was like a shadow. His eyes scanned every crevice for a trap. Oh, there were a few, but no match for him. This was an easy job. Deep inside the ruins, he saw his prey. A lone spellcaster, so enraptured by his clandestine work that he had earned the ire of many powerful individuals, ones with a coin to spare and an axe to grind. Welcome to Mythical Phylogeny Adventures. I'm your guide, Jason. Today, let's uncover the shadowy history behind a classic class found in fantasy games and shows, the Rogue. It is rare to find a series, whether fantasy or science fiction, which doesn't have some untrustworthy individual who the hero must work with to thwart the villain's schemes. This party member is often a double agent, or they are driven by nothing more than their base desires, greed and lust. Only at the last moment do they overcome their selfish nature to truly play a heroic role. That is how the rogues are usually portrayed. They are even a common class in games. Often they use stealth to flank foes and deliver deadly attacks with daggers. While you could call them a martial class, a better tone would be a stealth operative. They lack the proper armor and durability to throw down with foes. They include smugglers like Han Solo, street thieves like Aladdin, deadly assassins, and the infamous burglar Bilbo Baggins. So a wide range. But how would a fantasy world really work with them? Well, the term rogue comes from the mid-1500s. It meant a vagabond, a sturdy beggar, and an idle vagrant. The term is believed to come from Roger, which meant thief. By the end of the century, it came to mean a dishonest, unprincipled person, someone who does not fit with the rest of society, generally a negative trait. So overall, I would say that it is pretty common that they would occur. I mean, the idea of thieves and bandits are littered throughout history and mythology, so they could easily occur in a fantasy world. But often a fantasy world will have a thieves guild, an organized crime syndicate, which provides a place for thieves to sell their misbegotten goods, escape to, and cooperate with others. Now, there is believed to have been an actual thieves guild in Cairo, Egypt during its rule by the Ottoman Empire. Not to mention the countless organized crime operations, cartels, syndicates, and so on which have formed in the real world. The truth is, a rogue and a corresponding thieves guild are basically guaranteed. What would the thieves guild really do though? A network of spies, thieves, and assassins? Well, information and supplies would be the most important thing. Get a servant to offer up a map of the state, or a schedule. What is in their vault? Things which are critical to pull off a job. You could also put together a team this way for larger operations. Though, wouldn't their government want to destroy the guild? Well, the Thieves Guild could easily be drawn into the politics of the nation. Spy on this faction. Set up a misfortunate accident for a problematic noble. Create a little scandal. Yeah, there's a high chance that some of the nobility would have ties to the Thieves Guild. And there could even end up with multiple guilds tied to the different factions. They could even get drawn into the wars, focusing on spying and sabotaging. Yet we see them working with the hero's party. Why would a thief in Cutpurse side with a hero? Is it possible to have a noble thief? Well, what about Robin Hood, who stole from excessive taxation and theft of the population to return it to the commoners? Would he count? Well, I might put Robin Hood as a ranger and rogue hybrid. But does work. Yes, it will take some work, but I feel you can justify the rogue working with the hero. But the rogue as an adventurer? Well, we need to break them into two groups, the rogue and the thief. The first being the adventurer who slays monsters, explores ruins, while the other breaks into estates. One slays bandits, and the other is the bandit. Our thief first. They will mostly be working in the city, with two settings, the streets and breaking in. There they don't want people to notice them. So they should wear plain clothes, the kind of stuff that people would wear every day. The point is to be seen, but not noticed. I hope that doesn't sound too contradictory. But it is important here. If you are walking down a street and someone is dressed in a tuxedo, you would look at them, right? But if you are at a big gala, you wouldn't be impressed. Reverse it, and if you see someone in ripped jeans at a big fancy ball, everyone would stare. So this should be the guiding factor for their outfits. Though when attempting to infiltrate, they may switch to an outfit which is harder to see. Black and dark blue being the best to hide at night. I would also throw in something to cover their face. From there comes their equipment. Of course, smaller items like lockpicks, maybe some rope for climbing, and you could bring smoke bombs for quick escapes. But weapons will be the big deal. Ideally, a good thief is never seen and doesn't get into fights. So a perfect thief shouldn't need weapons. But of course, even the best laid plans will go wrong, and from bad to worse. So yes, they will want weapons. But they need something concealable and small. Daggers and long knives would work the best. Things that could be hidden up your sleeve, in a pocket, and anywhere else you can fit it. Generally speaking, a knife would need to be at least 3 inches long, at least. With a small weapon, your target would be your foe's throat, or stab into the heart. Location is key. You'll need precision with your strikes, so more agility and dexterity overall. A smaller blade can easily cause just as much damage as a great sword, but the latter gives more reach. Though you can use a dagger in close quarters easier. They may benefit from learning some martial arts, grapples and joint locks if they can. Focus on disabling and controlling their foe rather than taking them out with punches and kicks. Yet, should they use bows and crossbows? Well, as a thief, they could use it to set an anchor to climb into buildings. But for the assassin version of a rogue, oh, definitely, range is the perfect tool for a skilled assassin. After their attack, they need to disappear, either into the shadows, unseen, or into the crowd, unnoticed. There is another tool which an assassin could use: poison. Slip it into your target's drink or dinner and vanish before dinner. Job completed, and you are already long gone. They could also coat their weapons with it to compensate for their depth of penetration. Though if they are doing spy work, I would recommend also focusing on intelligence and charisma, else they are likely to be exposed. A rogue probably won't work as a stupid murder hobo, leave that for the barbarians. Though things are a bit different for the adventurer rogue. They aren't focused on stealth in the same way, so they could use a bit more protection, but I wouldn't go with heavy armor. If they still want to focus on stealth and scouting operations, they want to avoid making noise. So no plate and probably not chainmail, so gambeson and hardened leather. Their main job would be looking for traps and picking locks. While fighting in a party, they'd fare better having someone draw attention. That way their foe can turn their back and leave them exposed to well-placed attacks. Yet here, they could move to other weapons beside daggers. I'd still limit it to short swords and other one-handed options. Yet I do need to ask, should rogues have access to magic? Sure, the presence of magic is a defining trait of fantasy, and how common it is will influence it. Most series don't give the rogue much in the terms of magic. They rely on weapons, simple alchemical concoctions, and tools. Yet most games give the rogues the power to turn invisible, move about amongst the enemies while crouching, and pick their pockets. Sure, some games require you to avoid line of sight or pass stealth checks. Could this be a form of magic? Perhaps. Attempting to suppress your aura, a little misdirection, get a foe not to notice you? Well, yes. Ideally, this would be illusion magic at play. Spells to create images for people to look at, or even change their appearance. The guards see an orc assaulting someone, but is really a human in disguise. Or change your appearance into the captain of the guards to sow disinformation in a fight. That can easily turn a large force against itself. But there is combat tricks as well. What if they can just make their weapon invisible? It's hard to block a blade that you can't see. What if you create an illusion of a false arm which your opponent is paying attention to while your real arm is elsewhere? That way, a combination of rogue and a spellcaster could be a very versatile and dangerous foe. What about using magic to create a magic blade? One that is just as dangerous, even if it only lasts as long as the spell. Then, even if the rogue is caught and searched, they can still create the tools they need to do their jobs. Adam didn't hear it as the rogue crept up behind him. He was conceited in his safety, power, and abilities. The perfect mark for a rogue. There was no fight as the rogue slipped his dagger between his ribs. In and out. Adam didn't even realize it as he fell backwards, his head bouncing off the stonework. The last thing he saw was a shadow slinking away. The rogue is truly a versatile and useful addition to any party. They are almost always required to complete any quest your party may undertake. They fit in perfectly with the lone cut purse, clear up to the national political intrigue. Thank you for watching, adventurers. Please return next time for a mana-based ecosystem. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.